Hold it! I gotta get Gary. There's a runaway horse.
Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California. Look what I've been doing all morning. I figured I'm going to share this with you for a few moments so you'll see how my chair garden went. In 2020, I decided to make a chair garden. You all watched me. A lot of you said, oh, the chairs are going to fall over. The totes are going to last 6 months. Here is my chair garden 2025. I've had 5 years of growing in here. 2020, because I planted then, 21, 22, 23, and 24. That's 5 years of growing, and at the time, the totes were about $5 each. Though keep in mind, you can go to a thrift store and you can find them for a couple of bucks there. Why? Because people put all their stuff in there and they donate it to the thrift stores, and then they don't want the totes, they just want the stuff that was in there, and they blow them out for, $1 and $2. But I got these new, so they were $5. Now they have gone up, and I get them from Walmart. I get the brand that is Sterlite. They're 18 gallons, and they're made in the United States, and they're safe to grow in. They're number 5. They have been fantastic. Well, they've had their time now. Let's turn around for a minute. Now, Gary did make that screen. Look at that. That is a wren that's sitting there singing his heart out. I think he's building a nest. The wind comes up through the canyon and blows really hard. As you can see, the breeze right now, and it comes up through here and it blows on this tote and that tote the hardest, and a little bit there. The ones here are protected by the back of the chair. So those have been going really good. So this one got really beat up really bad from the wind, especially when it's 100 degrees in the summer and it's just blowing. It's like kind of like a sandblast, because the dust is coming and it's blowing all day. And eventually it got to the point where I looked at it and thought, you know what? Walmart keeps putting them on sale. They're like $6.50. I'm going to change that one out. So I changed that one out. I think about, I don't know if I did it last year or 6 months ago. I planted a broccoli plant. I'm getting a lot in there. But that one I held on to until I finally decided something jumped on it. I think a coyote. I broke a lot of that off because I'm tearing it apart to throw it away. But I decided this morning that one has to go. Now the other ones are fine. All the ones in the back that don't get the wind on them are perfectly fine. There's no holes or anything in them. I don't know if I'm going to replace that one because this one also gets the brunt of the wind. But you can paint these, especially when they get a little bit of oxidation from the sun. You know how I do all the chairs? These chairs were painted 20 years ago. My daughter bought them when my granddaughter was a baby for a party. She kept them in the garden, and her garden, and then they started to deteriorate, the plastic. So she gave them to me, and I looked at them, and I had testers paint way back then. About, like I said, 20 years ago, and I started buying tester paint, painting them up. So they're all painted except for the dark blue one all the way in the back. I actually bought that, I think, close to 35 years ago, and it's going strong. The rest of them are painted once, just once. That one was painted in 2020, the green one. I actually did that on the video. So they have held up beautiful. Nothing's fallen down. Everything has been great, and I have gotten, no joke, a ton of food out of here. The easiest garden to set up, the best garden to set up. I mean, look at this. You stand in the middle, and if you want to use a watering can or a hose, you spin around, and you have got everything watered in less than 2 minutes. This is the easiest one to maintain. But going back to this, I decided to go ahead and change that out. So this is going to be trashed. 5 years of growing, I am fine with that. You go buy a metal raised bed, those things fall apart too. And you know the nightmare to try to empty them when you need to change the soil out? There's nothing with this. This front one has never been changed. So all this beautiful rich soil I pulled out came out of there. It was full of branches and everything on the bottom, probably about a foot up, all sticks and branches, because, well, I didn't want to, load it up with a bunch of wonderful soil to the bottom. So I packed it up with wood and branches and whatever I could find. And this is what was on the bottom. And it was full of earthworms too. So this will be going back in there, but I am going to load this up with leaves. I'm going to make my holes in the front on that one. But I think 5 years for that, being abused with the weather has been fantastic. And me too. I knock them around. Sometimes I come in here with a hose, or I dig to take a plant out and I bang against it. I've done it myself sometimes on some of these totes. But this is, to me, one of the best gardens you can set up. Each garden is an individual. So you are planting, no matter what you decide, individual small gardens. So if something went wrong in one of them, it's not going to affect anything else. And by keeping them separate, I can grow tomatoes in there with Swiss chard. I've got tomatoes back there I grew last year with garlic chives. You actually pick and choose what you want to do in each one. And the nice thing is, now think about this. If this was a large raised bed, let's say I've got equivalent to 2 very large $200, $300 raised beds in here, I would have to empty the entire thing. If anything went wrong with the raised bed, everything comes out. You're talking about, I don't even know how much cubic foot of soil you would have to hand pull out. This one took me about 15 minutes, and I only have to do that one, and I can let the Swiss chard grow there, cut down my tomatoes, and keep going. I'm not slowed down. My garden is going strong. I can wait now. And I think I'm going to fill that up and get that all prepped and ready. And I am thinking about watermelon. Why? I've done it in here. I grew the most beautiful watermelon in this chair garden back in 2020 and 2021, I believe, also. And then I started growing other things. And that's something we want to think about too. Are you growing to have food all year? Is that what you're trying to do? In other words, you want to grow and freeze and have food in the winter. Or are you growing for fun, or are you growing for both? Now, why do I say that? If I plant a watermelon in here, and I would put one watermelon plant in there and probably put a layer, a pot of something else in there. It could be, who knows? I don't know. It could be parsley or garlic chives or walking onions or whatever I want, or any onions. Or the point what I'm saying is I'm going to get 1 to 2 watermelon. If I'm lucky, 3. That's 3 days of food. If I plant Swiss chard, brassicas, zucchini, I am now producing food. Somebody's horse is gone. I am going to go. Hold on. I'm back. Yes, a horse got loose and it took off from the hills and it came here and it was looking. I grabbed Gary and we took off in the street and Gary called it. It came to him. He held it and we got it back to the owner. It turned out it is a beautiful pregnant mare, and she was grazing and the gate was open and she took off. Anyway, she's back home now. Everything worked out well. Let's wrap this up. I haven't had breakfast yet. Now the sun is coming out more and more. The point I'm making, and we'll get into this more and more because this is so important. Watermelon is going to give me 2 to 3 days of food. Broccoli, brassicas, squash, food like that I grow could end up providing me or your family food for the winter. Because with zucchini, it will keep giving and giving. And I'm using that as an example. You can grow any squash you want, but you can freeze it. You've seen me do that. You don't have to get into canning unless that's what you want to do. The point is there are plants that go for years. Broccoli will last for years. All your brassicas, your collard, your kale, they will go for years. Now your Swiss chard sometimes dies back a little bit in the winter, but you know what? That one has been going all year. Your watermelon is done when it's done. Your cucumbers are done when it's done. Now, I'm not saying not to grow that. I'm saying think about what you grow. Tomatoes. If you want to grow a giant tomato plant, you're going to get, with big tomatoes, 2 tomatoes to 6 tomatoes on one plant. And you're going to be catering to that for months until you get a beautiful tomato off of it. And what could happen in the meantime, being so big and taking so long to ripen, because you want a vine ripened tomato, something can get it before you get it. When you are growing cherry tomatoes or small tomatoes, you're going to have hundreds of tomatoes on one plant. It's going to keep on giving. And you're going to get to the point where you have so many and you don't know what to do with it. Yes, you do. You wash them, you dry them, and you throw them in Ziploc bags in the freezer, and you've got tomatoes, tomatillos, Peppers are the same way, all winter long through spring until you start growing again. Think about what you want to grow. I'm going to get this tote set up. What I'm going to do is put the holes on the bottom. I'm going to get my little power unit that I come out here with. I'm going to make holes there, and then I'm going to load the bottom up with wood or whatever I've got. Look at all this stuff laying around here. Even the weeds. I pull the weeds too. All that will go in there, and then I'm going to top it with this, and I think I'm going to sit back and wait because it's too early for me to plant watermelon. Though we look warm and beautiful, and yes, in the spring, we're going to be 85 degrees right now this week, but our nights are still cool. And if I plant a watermelon or a cucumber too soon, it's going to sit there. It's going to stress because it doesn't have the proper temperatures. And then when the time is right, it may not make a comeback. A lot of your brassicas will make a comeback. They will sit and wait for the temperature and the weather to be right for them to grow. But certain plants will not. They just kind of fizzle out. Tomatoes you can plant right now. But peppers, I'd put them in a pot. Now, if I want to grow a pepper with the watermelon, that's perfectly fine. I can set it up in a pot. I can put the pot there. That's called layering. And then everything underneath will stay nice and wet. I can hit that pot that's sitting on top in there when it's full, and it will always give water to my watermelon. So there's a lot of little tricks I do. We here can garden for next to nothing. We can get a $7 tote or go get one from Dollar Tree for $5. And we can set up a garden that way. You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars. If you've got the money, do it. But if you don't, you're going to start making your own soil from the day you start to garden. And if you can do it before, that's perfect, because all this stuff on the ground, everything, including the weeds, this is your free soil, and this is going to break down right away, usually within a month. And you still plant on top while everything underneath is breaking down, and then before you know it, your plants are bursting into fruit, vegetables. You're going to have so much, and you're going to spend so little. So with that, have a wonderful day. We've had an exciting morning catching a horse in the street, but all worked out well. She moseyed on home with her owner, and everybody's happy. And I think it's time for me to get another cup of coffee and some breakfast. Have a great day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Oh, look at the birds. They're eating what I grow. That's sow thistle, and the goldfinches are just eating away to feed their babies. Oh, here comes his mate. Bye-bye, everybody. I love watching the birds. I don't know if you can see them, but they're there. Let's see how close we can get, because they don't mind me. They know I work out here. They don't care. I'm standing right here. That's why I've been leaving the sow thistle growing with my tomatoes. I got tomato plants. Look at this. It's so important for them. My squash is doing really good. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye-bye. I grabbed this off the tomato plant that was in there. I shouldn't have let it sit like this, but I'll take the leaves off and drop it in some water. If they root, they root, and I can stick them back in here. And if not, I'm not worried about it. And this blue chair, too, is over 30 years old. It's a mate to the other one. Well, they popped up, so they're looking good. I'll trim off all the flowers. I'll get that off. Here's one I took the other day. Oh, look at this. Whoops. I've got too many. Hold on. Look at this. I took this the other day while I was cleaning, and it's already ready to get potted up and go out in the garden. Okay, I gotta go do hummingbirds.